Now to tonight's special report and the beginning of a week of coverage looking at the ongoing drought across so much of Australia. The start of 2019 has been one of the toughest and driest on record. The affected areas in southeast Queensland and northeast New South Wales have received less than 50% of what they'd normally get. 9 towns in New South Wales are considered to be in imminent danger of running out of water. There's also been serious to severe rainfall shortages in large parts of Western Australia and across much of the Northern Territory away from the tropical north. The outlook is no better. The Bureau says the forecast for the next 3 months is for drier than average conditions. The ABC's Michael Rowland will be travelling to some of the worst affected areas this week.
This is Warwick on Queensland's Darling Downs, and you don't have to be an expert to see just how dry it is around here. In fact, if it doesn't rain by spring, there are towns in this area that will have to truck in water by the end of the year. Now, state governments and local councils are scrambling to put in place emergency measures. Our National Regional Affairs reporter Lucy Barber has also been out and about. She has visited 3 towns grappling with water shortages, each with their own solution.
Who can tell me why we don't flush the toilet when we do a wee anymore?
Each school day starts with the same lesson.
And what does a drought mean?
It means we're running out of water.
So the biggest things we're teaching them at the moment are if it's yellow, let it mellow, so don't flush the toilet if you've only done a wee. And the counting when they wash their hands, that's the biggest thing.
They're trying to save as much water as they can because Tenterfield only has 200 days of this precious resource left. The dries forced locals to severely cut back their water use.
So I didn't shower last night, excuse me. Dead ones in here.
But Mandy Reid's laughter is short-lived as she surveys the damage this natural disaster has inflicted on her 23-year-old nursery.
As a gardener, you only get one chance to build a garden, a good mature garden, and this was mine, but it's gone.
She's spending thousands of dollars buying water to keep her business alive. If thirsty dams and rivers don't fill before the end of the year, local councils could be forced to truck water in.
I'll be 1,400 loads, like B-double loads a month.
Water restrictions are biting hard across the border in Queensland too, and ratepayers could bear the cost.
We could be looking at anything from $500,000 to $1.5 million per month to transport the water.
Trucks are already a big part of the landscape here, but the job of carting livestock is getting messier. Because wash stations across most of this countryside are closed, putting pressure on the few remaining open. But you guys are on level 4 water restrictions in this town.
Yeah, so it's quite a strain, but for what cattle he's got to load this afternoon, he needs to be washed out, effluent free.
Walker is traditionally a high rainfall area, but residents are constantly on water restrictions because storage is limited. One of the solutions often talked about is water infrastructure like dams or pipelines. There have been promises and pledges from local councils through to federal politicians, but little has actually been built, and that's left many rural towns dry, struggling to survive. Locals in towns like Walker blame a lack of planning, action and funding from all levels of government, but some towns have won the battle. Goulburn's dams today are a picture of health, compared to more than a decade ago when the 8-year-long millennium drought parched a nation and sent this town onto extreme water restrictions. So do you think it took an emergency for governments to give you money?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Hard lobbying by council led to state and federal funding to help raise a dam wall and build a new pipeline.
We are not on water restrictions. We have 70% of our storage in usable water at the moment.
Yeah, so this is where the magic happens. This is where our brewers take Australian grain, run it through our brew house and convert it into wort.
The infrastructure has helped attract new industry to Goulburn.
A guaranteed supply of water for a product that's mainly water is super important for us. If it wasn't for that, we just couldn't be here.
But big builds and business aren't enough alone.
Goulburn residents are still adopting water-wise practices that see us achieve reduced water consumption.
A community's hard-won wisdom has become a lasting legacy.
Lucy Barber with that report.